During the New Year's toast, my mom lifted her glass and said, "This year, you'll be paying your sister's rent. She's under too much stress." My dad added, "If you refuse, don't bother coming around anymore." I smiled, clinked my glass, and said, "Then this is my last toast and your last check." The room went dead silent. I always knew I was the fallback plan, not the golden child, not the rebellious one, just the one who kept the pieces from scattering, the one they could lean on when things got inconvenient. For the last 8 years, I played my part, quietly paying bills that weren't mine, picking up after disasters I didn't create, smiling through holidays where the unspoken rule was clear. I was there to serve, not to celebrate. And every New Year's the pattern repeated like clockwork. I'd show up dressed nice enough to keep them from complaining, but not enough to draw attention. My parents would host their annual gathering, extended family and all, everyone pretending to be thrilled about being stuck in a house together for 6 hours. I pretend to. But this year was different. Not because I had a plan, because I'd finally hit a wall. I had come straight from work, exhausted, knowing they wouldn't care. I stepped through the door, and my mom barely glanced up before handing me a tray of glasses to pass around. My dad made a comment about me being late. Emma was curled in the corner of the sectional, eyes glued to her phone. My little sister, the one who hadn't held a job for more than a few months since college, the one I bailed out last February when she accidentally overdrew her account by $2,000. It was past midnight when the champagne came out. The countdown had happened. Toasts were starting. My aunt was sharing something heartfelt about new beginnings. And then, like she had rehearsed it, my mom raised her glass and turned to me. "This year," she said, "you'll be covering your sister's rent. She's under too much stress." Just like that. No warning, no discussion, no explanation. I blinked. I could feel every eye in the room shift in my direction. My dad followed up immediately. "If you refuse, don't bother coming around anymore." That was the line. Not even subtle. Like they talked it through beforehand. Like I was the unreasonable one for needing them to say it out loud. I looked at Emma. She didn't even lift her head. I smiled, not because I was amused, but because in that moment, I knew this was it. The curtain drop. The last performance. I clinked my glass gently against my dad's and said, "Then this is my last toast and your last check." Nobody moved. I put my glass down on the coffee table, picked up my coat, and walked out. The air outside hit hard, but it felt cleaner than anything in that room. I walked to my car in silence, hearing only my own footsteps. Nobody came after me. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't have imagined, was that I'd been preparing for this exit for months. Slowly, carefully tying off all the loose ends. They tied me into the shared bank account, closed quietly weeks ago. My name on Emma's lease removed after a long and awkward call with the landlord. That check my dad had asked me to write in November. The one just to hold them over till the end of the month. I never sent it. The job offer I turned down because my mom said, "Don't be selfish. We need you here." I called the company back last week and said I'd changed my mind. I start in 2 weeks in a different city. They don't know that yet. I went home, my real home, the one I worked for, and turned off my phone. When I turned it back on the next morning, there were 7 missed calls from my mom, 2 from my dad, 1 text from Emma. "Please don't ignore me." I didn't know they were going to say that. And then 5 minutes later, another message came in. "I think I'm in trouble. I need to tell you something." That's when I found out just how bad it really was. And it wasn't just about rent. Not even close. I didn't text Emma back right away. I needed quiet. I needed space. I made coffee I didn't drink and stood by the window for a long time staring at nothing. The party from the night before played in my head like a bad recording. My mom's voice. My dad's command. Emma's silence. The clinking glass. My words. "This is my last toast and your last check." I thought I'd feel relief or freedom. But mostly I just felt hollow, not regret, not doubt. Just a strange kind of stillness, like my body finally stopped tensing after years of clenching. When I finally called Emma, she picked up instantly. "No, hey, no small talk." He went straight in. "I messed up. I really messed up." I didn't say anything, just waited. She said she was about $6,000 in debt, probably more. She'd lost track. I thought maybe she'd say student loans or credit cards. That she was being reckless, sure, but fixable. But she kept talking, and the words started to tilt sideways. It wasn't shopping. It wasn't travel. It was gambling. Online poker mostly. Started small, then bigger, then losing, then trying to win it back and losing more. I sat down at the kitchen table, letting her talk. The timeline unraveled itself. She'd stopped paying rent in October. She said she thought she could hit big just once, pay me back, and I'd never know that rent. I'd been covering it. I'd assumed she was working part-time and just struggling a little. Every time I brought it up, my parents shut the conversation down. Don't stress her out. She's going through a lot. You've got it handled, don't you? Now, I understood why they were pushing so hard to make me keep paying. They were trying to patch a hole without ever looking into it. But then Emma said something that pulled the floor out from under me. Dad told me last week they were going to ask you about the rent. I didn't answer. He kept going. I told them not to. I told them it wasn't right, that I was dealing with it. I begged them not to mention it during the toast, but they said you'd be fine with it. Because you always are. Just like I always am. I didn't know what to say. Not because I wasn't angry. I was, but because I had nothing left to give. Not to them, and maybe not even to her. I'm not calling to ask for money, she said. I'm staying with a friend right now. I've been applying for jobs. I'll take anything. Receptionist, barista, whatever. I need help. Not money. I need a fresh start. I don't want them involved. That part hit harder than I expected that I told her I'd think about it. I didn't promise anything. She said she understood. And for the first time, I believed her that we hung up. I sat in the silence for a long time, thinking about the last 8 years. About all the times I was told no without explanation. The birthdays I worked through because I was needed at home. The wedding I missed because Emma had a breakdown and I was the only one who could calm her. The job in Seattle I turned down because moving would destroy your mother. The truth is, I didn't just hit a wall. I'd been buried under their expectations for so long. I forgot what breathing felt like. My phone rang again. My dad. I didn't answer. Then my mom. Then again. And again. 6 missed calls in 30 minutes. Finally, a voicemail. I played it on speaker while rinsing my coffee mug. You made your point, Grace. Now come fix it. That was it. And that told me everything. They didn't see a daughter. They saw a tool. A solution. Something useful. And they still thought they were in control. They didn't know I'd already signed the lease on my new place. That I'd been packing for 2 weeks. That I had no intention of showing up to another staged family dinner. But maybe, Emma wasn't beyond saving. She didn't ask me to fix her. She asked where to start. That was new. The next day, I texted her one word. And for the first time, I started making space in my life on my own terms. Emma arrived the next evening in an Uber with one rolling suitcase and a giant reusable grocery bag stuffed with loose chargers, a laptop, tangled jewelry, and what looked like every snack from her pantry. She looked rough, pale, exhausted, too quiet, but I didn't comment. I just opened the door wider and let her in. I can sleep on the couch, she said that I pointed to the second bedroom. It's yours until you figure things out. She didn't cry. She didn't fall apart. She just nodded, took her things inside, and stayed there for a while that I didn't expect a miracle overnight. But I was surprised by how quickly she tried. For 2 days, she sat at the dining table with her laptop, sending resumes, calling old classmates, looking for side work. She didn't ask for money, rides, or advice. And I didn't push that. By the 3rd day, she landed an interview at a dentist's office for a receptionist job. Nothing fancy, no benefits, but it was a start. And she was proud, even if she didn't say it out loud. The problem wasn't her. It was the noise outside. That week, the pressure began. First, a text from my dad. We need to talk now. Then my mom. You made your point. Enough. Then the voicemails. I didn't listen. I already knew the script. Shock turned into anger. When that failed, guilt followed. My favorite was the group email sent to me, Emma, and my aunt. Subject: Family Matters message. We are disappointed. We are heartbroken. But we are still your parents. We expect better. No apology. No responsibility. Just disappointment. Weaponized as love. But the worst came next. When they realized I wasn't responding, they went after Emma. She came home from work one night, her second day, and dropped her phone on the couch. They want me to come back, she said. They said they'll forgive me if I leave your place. They'll clear my debt if I agree to counseling with Mom's church group. I looked at her. They said you filled my head with nonsense, she added. That you're jealous of me. That you want me dependent so you can feel better about your own life. It would have been funny if it wasn't so familiar, They always rewrote the story when they started losing control. I'd seen it before, with friends they pushed away, with our uncle who refused to co-sign, even with my aunt who hadn't been invited to Thanksgiving for 3 years after telling Mom she needed therapy. They're not going to stop, are they? Emma asked. No, not until you stop listening. She nodded slowly. Then she blocked their numbers. That was the first moment I truly believed she wanted out, not just from the debt or guilt, but from them. The next day, I took her shopping. Nothing fancy, just work basics, pants that fit, blouses that didn't look like clearance leftovers. She tried to argue, said she'd pay me back. I told her to stop talking and pick a color she liked, home. I kept the door locked. I ignored every call, every email, every carefully crafted message designed to make me the villain in my own life, until Thursday night. At 11:12 p.m., there was a loud, frantic knock at the door. Not polite. The kind that makes your stomach drop. I checked the peephole. My father. I didn't open it. He stood there for 2 full minutes, then leaned close to the door. You've ruined her, he said. She was weak before, but at least she loved us. You poisoned her. You'll regret it. Then he left. I turned off the porch light. Inside, Emma sat on the edge of the bed in the dark. She'd heard everything. Do you think they ever loved us? She asked. Like they were supposed to? I sat down beside her. I think they loved what we did for them. She nodded. I don't want to be like them. You won't be. The silence between us wasn't awkward, just real. For the first time, we were on the same side. I realized I was done rescuing her, because she was climbing out on her own. Things got quiet after that. Not peaceful quiet, just controlled. Emma settled into a routine quickly. Early mornings, work, home. She stopped doom scrolling and started sleeping before midnight. She didn't talk much about gambling, but I knew it was still there. She tracked every dollar in a notebook on the counter. I didn't hover. I treated her like she was capable. My parents went silent for almost 2 weeks. I didn't trust it. And I was right. HR called me into a meeting. An anonymous report claimed I was financially exploiting a vulnerable family member. No evidence, just protocol. My manager backed me, but the message was clear. They were coming for my stability. When I told Emma, she didn't panic. They're trying to scare you back into line, she said. They can't control me, so they're going after your job. Then my aunt texted. She wanted to meet at ATA diner. She showed us a list, loans and money requests my mother had made from different relatives, all using different stories. Then she handed me a flash drive. My mom had tried to open a credit card in Emma's name. That's when my aunt started recording calls. She's panicking, my aunt said. And she's getting sloppy. Grandma knew now. And she wasn't happy. She'd already planned a family dinner, framed as reconciliation. What my parents didn't know was that Grandma had been quietly comparing stories. On the drive home, Emma admitted they'd told her I was selfish, that I'd abandoned her. And she believed them, until now that we didn't RSVP. That was intentional. The dinner was at Grandma's house. We arrived late. When we walked in, everything stopped. My mom stood too fast. My dad looked wrecked. Emma squeezed my wrist. Grandma welcomed us like it was any normal dinner. The tension was thick. Forced smiles. Careful words. And then Grandma tapped her fork against her glass and stood in no speech. No build-up. Grandma said she wanted to talk about lies. The room froze. She told her story first. How she'd been told I was unstable, Emma was spiraling, and that questioning anything was betrayal. Then she looked at me and admitted she believed it. She tried to stop my mom from interrupting and turned to my dad. She said she'd heard the recordings, read the messages, and spoken to everyone he borrowed from. Silence followed. She said they'd used Emma's name to apply for a credit card and demanded loyalty in return. She invited everyone so the truth would be heard openly. No more private manipulation. My aunt spoke next, then others. Small stories added up to something big. Emma stayed still, listening. When it ended, I stood and said I hadn't left the family. I'd left a role I never agreed to play. There was no yelling, just a quiet unraveling. Emma and I left early, but this time we hugged people and made real plans. On the drive home, Emma said they wouldn't stop trying to control us. I agreed, but said they didn't have power anymore. Then she told me she'd paid off her last credit card. She was smiling. She'd also started an anonymous blog about recovery. It already had followers. For the first time, the road ahead felt like mine. 6 months later, we were invited back. this time to celebrate Emma. No tension, no traps. Emma arrived in her own car, confident. At dinner, she stood and thanked those who believed in her. She shared that her debt was gone, she'd signed a lease, and her blog had grown into an opportunity. She said she wasn't asking for applause, just letting us know she was okay. And she was. Later, my mom admitted she'd been wrong. My dad nodded once. That was enough. Back home, Emma said she thought she'd be okay. I told her she already was. We sat in quiet. Not heavy, just peaceful. That New Year's toast broke everything. But maybe it had to. Some things need to shatter so you can finally see they were never built right in the first place.